While helping a neighbor move some stuff to his house, I opened the back door and saw my girlfriend on top of his son in broad daylight. Sup, Reddit. My girlfriend slept with my neighbor's son in his backyard, in broad daylight, while I was helping his dad move a couch. Yeah, you read that right. I literally opened the back door to get a better angle on the furniture and caught them going at it like they were in their own private universe. Here's how it went down. Buckle up, because this is going to be a long ride. So first off, let me give you some context about who I am and what I was dealing with. I'm 34, been working as an electrician for the past 12 years. Started right out of high school doing residential wiring, spent 5 years grinding it out for contractors who paid garbage wages and treated apprentices like disposable tools. But I learned everything. How to run conduit, wire three-phase systems, troubleshoot panels that looked like spaghetti nightmares. Eventually saved up enough to get my master's license and started my own operation 6 years ago. These days I've got a crew of 4 guys working under me. We do commercial work mostly, office buildings, retail spaces, some light industrial stuff. Good money, real good money. I'm pulling in about $185,000 a year before taxes, sometimes more if we land a big project. I own my house outright, paid off the mortgage 2 years ago after busting my behind on a massive contract for a shopping plaza. 3-bedroom place in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Got a 2019 Chevy Silverado that I bought cash. All my tools are top-grade Milwaukee and Klein stuff that I've accumulated over the years. My dad taught me early, never finance toys, never rent your happiness, and always keep your money separate. He learned that lesson the hard way when his second wife cleaned him out in a divorce. I'm not saying all this to flex. I'm saying it because you need to understand I wasn't some broke dude hoping a relationship would save me. I had my life together. House, truck, business, savings. I was doing fine before I met her, and I was going to be fine after. Now about the relationship. I met Vanessa about 3.5 years ago at a friend's barbecue. She was working as a sales associate at a furniture store, making maybe $35,000 a year plus commission. Pretty girl, had that whole bubbly personality thing going on. We hit it off, started dating, and honestly the first 2 years were solid. She'd come over after work, we'd cook together, watch movies, do normal couple stuff. She wasn't high maintenance back then. Seemed happy with simple things. About a year ago, we moved in together. That's when I started noticing changes. Little things at first. She'd make comments about my house not being stylish enough. Started pushing for expensive furniture upgrades. Wanted to redo the kitchen even though everything worked fine. I'd come home from a 12-hour day running cable through ceiling tiles, and she'd be showing me Instagram photos of kitchens that cost $80,000 to renovate. I told her we could do some updates, but nothing crazy. She didn't take that well. Then there were the girls' nights that became more frequent. 2-3 times a week she'd be out with her friend Danielle until midnight. I trusted her, so I didn't think much of it. I was usually exhausted from work anyway. Figured she deserved to blow off steam. But her phone habits got weird. She'd flip it face down whenever I walked by. Take calls in the bathroom. Guard that thing like it held nuclear codes. Classic red flags that I completely ignored because I'm an idiot. My best friend Jake noticed before I did. Jake and I went to trade school together. He's a welder now, runs his own fabrication shop. No-nonsense guy who calls things like he sees them. About 6 months ago, he pulled me aside after we grabbed lunch and said, "Dude, I'm not trying to start drama, but Vanessa's been acting different lately. She seems, I don't know, distracted. Just keep your eyes open." I brushed him off, told him he was reading too much into things. Looking back, I should have listened. The neighborhood I live in is pretty quiet. Mix of families, some retirees, working-class people who keep to themselves. Right next door is this older guy, Mr. Patterson. Super formal dude, probably in his late 60s. Always dressed like he's headed to court even when he's just mowing his lawn. Religious guy, goes to the big Baptist church downtown every Sunday, twice on holidays. His house looks like something from a home magazine. Perfect lawn with edges trimmed to the millimeter, flower beds that probably get measured with a ruler, American flag on the porch. You could tell order and discipline mattered to this guy. His son Kyle was a different story entirely. Mid-20s, still living at home. Worked some part-time gig at a gym. One of those dudes who thinks his jawline and biceps make him immune to consequences. Always had that smirk. You know the type. Like he's in on a joke nobody else gets. I'd see him around sometimes. He'd give me this little head nod, like we were equals. We weren't. I was building a business while he was posting gym selfies and hitting on anything that moved. I didn't interact with Kyle much, but I'd helped Mr. Patterson out a few times over the years. Jump-started his car once, helped him replace a garbage disposal, stuff like that. He was always respectful, always offered to pay me even though I told him it was just neighbor stuff. So when he knocked on my door that Friday afternoon, asking if I could help him move a couch on Saturday, I said sure. Seemed simple enough. Saturday morning came. I showed up at his house around 10 a.m., wearing work clothes, ready to haul furniture. Mr. Patterson answered the door looking stressed. He explained that Kyle was supposed to help, but had other plans. Said it with this tight expression like he'd had this argument before and lost. The couch was one of those massive sectional beasts with wooden legs, probably weighed 200 pounds. We started wrestling with it in the living room, trying to maneuver it through doorways that seemed designed by someone who hated furniture movers. I noticed how quiet the house was. Not peaceful quiet, tense quiet, like the air before a storm. Family photos lined the walls, everything formal and staged. Mr. Patterson in a suit with his late wife, Kyle in his high school football uniform looking smug even then, Easter service photos with everyone dressed sharp. This was a house that valued appearances. We struggled with that couch for 20 minutes, tilting it, shuffling sideways, sweat running down my back, even though it wasn't that hot. Mr. Patterson was pulling, I was pushing, and the thing barely moved. Then he muttered something about trying the back door, said we'd have more space to pivot it through the yard and around to where he wanted it. Made sense. I adjusted my grip, wedged my shoulder harder under the weight, and reached for the back door handle. It creaked open. Sunlight spilled across the tile floor. And then my entire world flipped upside down. Because there, in Mr. Patterson's perfectly fenced backyard, in broad daylight on a Saturday morning, was Vanessa, straddling Kyle, going at it like they were filming an amateur production. I froze, still bent under the couch weight, hand gripping the doorframe. Her hair was swinging, face flushed, eyes closed like she was in her own universe. Kyle had this smug grin plastered across his face, one hand behind his head like he owned the moment, like he'd won something. My chest went tight, heart pounding so loud I could hear it over everything. Mr. Patterson was still pulling on his end of the couch, hadn't seen yet. Then I dropped my side. The couch crashed to the floor with a dull thud. He grumbled something about being careful, then walked toward the door to see why I'd stopped. The second his eyes landed on them, his whole body went rigid. Man looked like he'd been hit with a taser. Jaw clenched, hands shaking, face cycling through shock and rage. His son, his own backyard, the girlfriend of his neighbor who he'd invited into his house. For a religious man who built his entire life on reputation and discipline, it was probably the worst thing he could have walked in on. Vanessa gasped when she realized the door was open. Scrambled off Kyle, yanking her skirt down. Face going from pleasure to panic in about half a second. Kyle, though, dude just sat up slow, squinting at us like we were interrupting his private time. Had that same arrogant tilt to his chin. Didn't even look embarrassed. The words came out before I could stop them. What the hell is this? My voice echoed across the yard. Somewhere down the street, a dog started barking. I saw a curtain twitch in a neighbor's window. This wasn't staying private. Vanessa opened her mouth, tried to say something, then shut it. Her hands were still tugging nervously at her clothes. Kyle smirked. Actually smirked. Leaned back on his elbows like I was just another inconvenience in his day. Mr. Patterson's face turned crimson. He didn't yell immediately, which somehow made it worse. He took this deep breath, fists trembling at his sides, then turned to Kyle with a look that could have melted steel. "You dare?" His voice came out low, shaking with restrained fury. "You dare bring this shame into my house, my yard, in front of my guest?" That's when the shouting really started. Vanessa tried stepping toward me, babbling excuses, but I threw up my hand to stop her. Didn't touch her. Just a forceful wave that said, "Stay back." I couldn't even process words properly. Just raw betrayal burning through my veins. Kyle stood up lazy, brushing grass off his jeans. Still had that amused expression. Like this wasn't the first time he'd been caught. Like it wouldn't be the last. Something in me snapped. I stepped forward, got right in his face. "You think this is funny?" He just smirked wider. Mr. Patterson moved between us before things escalated further, arms outstretched, but his eyes stayed locked on Kyle. "You bring disgrace under my roof again, and you will not be welcome here." The way he said it, with that exhausted weight, told me this wasn't Kyle's first scandal. This was just the latest in a long line. Vanessa was sobbing now, reaching for me, but I couldn't stand another second of looking at her. I shoved past them both, threw open the gate, and walked out onto the street. Behind me, the shouting continued. Mr. Patterson's voice roaring, Vanessa crying, Kyle muttering something defiant. Neighbors were definitely watching now. This was going to spread like wildfire. My phone started buzzing before I even made it to my truck. Vanessa, no doubt. already trying to spin her lies. I ignored it. Drove home in silence, white-knuckling the steering wheel the whole way. I didn't answer her calls. Not the first one, not the 10th. By the time I got back to my house, my phone looked like it was having a seizure. Texts, calls, voicemails piling up. I left it on the counter and went straight to my workshop in the garage. Started organizing tools, anything to keep my hands busy while my brain processed what I'd just seen. Jake called around noon. He'd already heard. Small towns, man. News travels faster than light. Dude, what happened? He sounded genuinely concerned. I told him everything. The couch, the backyard, Kyle's smirk, all of it. Jake was silent for a solid 10 seconds. That's messed up. What are you gonna do? I don't know yet, but she's not staying here. Good. You need help getting her stuff out? Yeah. Give me a day to think. All right. Call me when you're ready. And bro, document everything. Screenshots, photos, anything. Trust me on this. Jake was right. I spent the next hour going through my phone, screenshotting every text message, every suspicious late-night girls' night excuse, every time she'd been evasive about where she was. I backed everything up to cloud storage, created a folder on my computer. Then I called my lawyer. Yeah, I have a lawyer. When you own a business, you need one. His name's Greg. Handled my LLC formation and contracts. I explained the situation. He listened, asked a few questions, then gave me the advice I needed to hear. First, change your locks immediately. She doesn't live there legally. You own the house, and you don't want her coming back when you're gone. Second, document everything like you're building a legal case. Third, cut all financial ties. Remove her from any accounts, cancel any cards she has access to. Fourth, do not engage with her emotionally. Keep all communication in writing. Stay factual. Don't let her bait you into saying something stupid. I followed his advice to the letter. Called a locksmith, had new deadbolts installed within 3 hours. Went to the bank Monday morning, removed her as an authorized user on my checking account. Canceled the credit card I'd given her for emergencies. Checked the statement first and found $1,200 in charges from the past month. Restaurants, clothing stores, a weekend hotel stay I definitely didn't know about. Screenshot, cloud backup, evidence folder. I also checked our phone plan. We shared a family plan that I paid for. Pulled the records. Dozens of calls and texts to Kyle's number over the past 4 months. Some at 2 a.m., some while I was at work sites. Pattern was clear as day. Screenshot, cloud backup, evidence folder. Jake came over Monday night with his truck. We loaded up all of Vanessa's stuff, clothes, shoes, that expensive makeup collection she'd been building, all of it. Boxes and garbage bags full. I wasn't throwing her things away. I'm not vindictive like that, but I also wasn't keeping them in my house. We drove to her friend Danielle's place, the one she'd supposedly been having girls' nights with, and left everything on the porch. Took photos of the neatly stacked boxes for documentation, then left. Vanessa showed up at my door Tuesday evening. I watched her through the window, standing on my porch, ringing the doorbell like she still lived here. I didn't answer. She started pounding, then yelling. Please, just let me explain. It's not what you think. Not what I think. I literally saw it. With my own eyes. I grabbed my phone, started recording audio, just in case. She kept going. Kyle pressured me. He said things, made promises. I was confused. Pressured, right, because she accidentally ended up in his backyard without her clothes on. I texted her instead of opening the door. Your stuff is at Danielle's. Do not come back here. We're done. She read it. I could see her check her phone through the window. Then the crying started. Big heaving sobs, mascara running, the whole performance. Part of me felt bad. Small part. The bigger part remembered Kyle's smirk and how she'd looked perfectly happy right up until that door opened. After 20 minutes of her standing there sobbing, I called Jake. He showed up in 10. Big guy, covered in welding scars, doesn't smile much. He walked up to my porch and just stood there, arms crossed. You need to leave, he said, calm but firm. Vanessa looked between him and my house. This is between me and him. Nope, he's done. You're leaving. She tried the tears again. Jake didn't budge. Eventually, she walked back to her car, a beat-up Honda Civic she'd been driving since before we met, and left. Jake stayed another hour, just in case. We sat in my kitchen drinking coffee, not really talking, just existing in the same space. That's what real friends do. They show up. The fallout in the neighborhood was immediate. Mr. Patterson's church congregation heard everything by Sunday. Small-town Baptist church where everyone knows everyone's business? This was premium gossip. Word spread that Kyle Caldwell had been caught with a neighbor's girlfriend in broad daylight during what was supposed to be a simple furniture move. For a man whose entire identity was built on religious authority and moral discipline, having his son create a public scandal was basically a nightmare scenario. Mr. Patterson apparently tried handling it quietly at first, kicked Kyle out of the house that same Saturday. But Kyle, being Kyle, couldn't keep his mouth shut. Started telling his version of events to anyone who'd listen. Claimed Vanessa had chased him, that he was just being nice, that I was overreacting. His stories changed depending on who he was talking to. Classic narcissist behavior. Vanessa wasn't doing any better. She'd been staying with Danielle, but apparently her friend got sick of the drama after a week. Then Vanessa tried reaching out to mutual friends we had, spinning tales about how she'd made a mistake and just needed support. Most people saw through it. A few took her side. Those few got removed from my life real quick. Meanwhile, I kept my head down and focused on work. Had a big commercial project going, a medical office building that needed complete electrical overhaul. Kept me busy 12 hours a day, which was exactly what I needed. Exhausted body, quiet mind. Jake would swing by the job site sometimes, bring me lunch, make sure I was eating. Didn't have to say much. Just being there was enough. About 2 weeks after the incident, things escalated. Kyle apparently showed up at Mr. Patterson's church on Sunday morning. Walked right in during service. Mr. Patterson was in the middle of reading scripture when Kyle strolled down the center aisle like he owned the place. The entire congregation went silent. I heard about this from Mrs. Chen, a sweet old lady who lived 3 houses down and went to that church. She stopped me while I was checking my mailbox and told me the whole story with this scandalized whisper. Kyle had apparently stood up in the middle of service and announced that his father was a hypocrite. Said Mr. Patterson preached about forgiveness, but wouldn't forgive his own son. It was a manipulative move, trying to use the congregation's religious values against his father, trying to make Mr. Patterson look like the bad guy. It backfired spectacularly. Mr. Patterson stood at the pulpit, looked his son dead in the eye and said, "Forgiveness doesn't mean enabling sin. Forgiveness doesn't mean protecting you from consequences. You've brought shame to this household repeatedly, and I will not be your shield anymore." Then he gestured to the deacons. They escorted Kyle out. The congregation gave Mr. Patterson a standing ovation. That story made its way through the neighborhood faster than the original scandal. People respected that. A father finally drawing a line with a son who'd been coasting on entitlement his whole life. Kyle's life started falling apart after that. Lost his part-time gym gig when word spread about the church incident and the backyard situation. Nobody wanted drama in their workplace, and Kyle was walking drama. He couch surfed for a while, staying with buddies who eventually got tired of his nonsense. Started seeing him at a cheap motel on the edge of town, the kind of place that rents by the week. Vanessa tried coming back one more time about a month in. Different approach this time. No tears, no hysteria. She knocked on my door around 8 p.m. on a Wednesday. I opened it but kept the security chain on. "I'm not here to beg," she said. "I just want to talk." "About what?" "About us." "About what happened." "About why?" I leaned against the doorframe. "Why doesn't matter. You made a choice. Probably made that choice dozens of times based on the phone records. I'm not interested in explanations." Kyle said things would be different. He said he had plans. Said his dad was going to help him start a business. Said I deserved someone more ambitious than... She stopped herself, but the damage was done. "More ambitious than me?" I finished. "The guy who owns his house, runs his own business, and doesn't live in a motel?" She looked down. "I made a mistake." "Yeah, you did. But here's the thing, Vanessa. This wasn't a drunken mess-up at a party. This wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment. You carried on with this dude for months. Snuck around, lied to my face, probably laughed about it with him. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. That's who you are. People change. Maybe, but I'm not sticking around to find out." She stood there for another minute, looking like she wanted to say more. Then she walked away. That was the last time we spoke face to face. 3 months passed. Life got better. Work was good. Landed another big contract for a warehouse renovation. Money was flowing. Business was growing. I hired another electrician to handle the increased workload. Started going to the gym regularly with Jake. Put on some muscle. Felt better physically than I had in years. Sold the furniture Vanessa had picked out. The stuff she'd pushed so hard for me to buy. Replaced it with things I actually liked. Practical, comfortable, none of that Instagram-worthy nonsense. Got a dog. A German Shepherd mix from a shelter named Diesel. Best decision I made. That dog had more loyalty in one paw than Vanessa had in her entire body. The neighborhood settled back into normalcy, mostly. Mr. Patterson kept his routine. Church every Sunday, lawn maintenance every Saturday, polite waves when we crossed paths. We never talked about what happened. Didn't need to. There was this unspoken understanding between us. Two men who'd been burned by people we trusted, both moving forward the only way we knew how. Kyle and Vanessa ended up together, sort of. I'd see them occasionally, usually at the same cheap motel, or arguing in parking lots. That dream life Kyle had sold her on? Turns out it was smoke. No business, no daddy's money, just a guy with a smirk and no backup plan. The final incident happened about 5 months after everything went down. I was driving past Mr. Patterson's place, heading home from a job site, when I saw Kyle's beat-up Toyota parked on the street. He was standing on the sidewalk, yelling at his father's house. Mr. Patterson was on the porch, arms crossed, not budging. I slowed down, just watching. Kyle was screaming about money, about being family, about how his dad was abandoning him. Mr. Patterson just stood there, silent, letting his son exhaust himself. Finally, when Kyle ran out of steam, Mr. Patterson spoke. I couldn't hear what he said from my truck, but whatever it was, it made Kyle deflate. He got back in his car and drove off. I gave Mr. Patterson a nod as I passed. He nodded back. Sometimes the best revenge is just being the guy who doesn't fall apart. Being the guy who handles his business, pays his bills, shows up when he says he will. Boring stuff. Reliable stuff. The kind of stuff that builds a life instead of destroying one. Last I heard, Vanessa moved 2 towns over. Got a job at another furniture store, trying to start fresh somewhere people didn't know the story. Kyle's still around, still bouncing between jobs and excuses. They broke up after a few months, surprised nobody. Turns out when your entire relationship is built on betrayal and fantasy, it doesn't have much foundation. Me? I'm doing great. Business is thriving. Just signed a contract for a new commercial development that'll keep us busy for 8 months. Started seeing someone new, a paralegal named Rebecca who has her life together and doesn't play games. We take things slow, which is exactly what I need. Diesel loves her, which is a good sign. That dog's judgment is better than mine ever was. I still see Mr. Patterson sometimes. We talk more now, not about what happened, but about normal stuff. Weather, lawn care, his plans to retire in a few years. There's a mutual respect there. 2 men who faced ugliness and didn't let it break them. The funny thing about revenge is that people always think it's about destruction, about getting even, making someone suffer. But real revenge, the kind that actually matters, is about building while they're busy falling apart. It's about staying solid while they spiral. It's about being the guy who shows up to work every day, pays his mortgage, takes care of his dog, and sleeps well at night. Vanessa wanted someone more ambitious, someone exciting, someone with big plans. She got exactly that. And it turned out those big plans were just big talk from a guy who couldn't back up anything he said. Meanwhile, I'm over here with my boring, reliable, successful life. House paid off, truck running strong, business growing, dog sleeping at my feet, girlfriend who respects me. Kyle tried one last time to confront me about 6 months in. I was at a hardware store picking up supplies, loading wire spools into my truck bed, when he walked up. He looked rough, thinner, stubble on his face, clothes that had seen better days. "You happy now?" he said, trying for tough but coming off desperate. I kept loading wire. Didn't even look at him. "You ruined my life, man. My dad won't talk to me, I lost my place, I can't keep a job." "I didn't ruin anything," I said, finally turning to face him. "You did that yourself. I was just the guy who opened the door. You could have kept your mouth shut." "Why would I?" "Because some things are supposed to stay private." I almost laughed. "Private? You were in your dad's backyard, in broad daylight, with my girlfriend. That's not privacy. That's arrogance." He stepped closer, trying to intimidate me. "You think you're better than me? I don't think about you at all." I closed the truck bed gate, locked it. "You made your choices. You lied, you snuck around, you disrespected your father and me. Now you're dealing with what comes after. That's not my fault. That's just life. Life doesn't have to be this hard." "Yeah, it does when you build it on garbage." I opened my driver's door. "I gotta go. Got work tomorrow." "Work," he scoffed. "That's all you care about. Work pays my bills. Work gives me stability. Work means I don't have to beg people for help or sleep in motels." I climbed into my truck. "Maybe you should try it sometime." I drove off. Checked my rearview mirror once. He was just standing there in the parking lot, looking lost. Part of me felt bad for him. Very small part. Mostly I just felt nothing. He was a chapter I'd closed. The thing nobody tells you about moving on is that it's not dramatic. There's no epic final showdown, no moment where everything clicks into place. It's just gradual. Days turn into weeks into months. The anger fades. The hurt becomes background noise. One day you wake up and realize you haven't thought about it in a while. Then those moments get further apart until eventually, it's just a story you tell when someone asks. Rebecca knows the whole thing. I told her on our third date because I figured she deserved to know what she was getting into. She listened, asked good questions, didn't judge. At the end she said, "Sounds like you handled it well." I don't know if I handled it well. I just handled it. That's what well means, she said. Not falling apart when things get ugly. Rebecca's different. She's got her own house, her own career, her own life. We're building something together, but we're both whole people going in. No games, no manipulation, no hidden agendas. Just two adults who enjoy each other's company and respect each other's boundaries. Novel concept, right? Mr. Patterson actually met her a few weeks ago. She was over at my place and we were in the front yard with Diesel when he walked by on his evening walk. I introduced them. They talked for about 10 minutes, normal neighbor stuff, and when he left he gave me this small approving nod. From a man who guards his approval like gold, that meant something. Jake likes her too. The four of us, me, Rebecca, Jake, and his girlfriend Melissa, went to a baseball game last month. Sat in the bleachers, ate overpriced hot dogs, heckled the umpire. Normal, boring, satisfying stuff. The kind of evening you remember not because it was extraordinary, but because it was easy. Because everyone there actually wanted to be there. I'm not going to sit here and say I never think about what happened. Sometimes I do. Usually when I'm driving past that street, or when I see someone who reminds me of Vanessa. But those thoughts don't stick anymore. They pass through like clouds. What I think about more is how close I came to ignoring the red flags. How if I'd married her like we'd been talking about, if I'd combined finances, if I'd put her name on the house, the damage would have been catastrophic. Instead, I got lucky. Lucky that I caught it when I did. Lucky that I'd listened to my dad's advice about keeping assets separate. Lucky that I had friends like Jake who showed up when it mattered. The money I would have spent on a wedding, I reinvested it into my business. Bought a new company truck, upgraded tools, paid for certifications for my crew. Best return on investment I ever got. The emotional energy I would have wasted trying to fix things with someone who didn't respect me, I put that into building something real with someone who does. The house that would have been divided in a messy breakup, still mine. Still paid off. Still the place I come home to every night with my dog, and occasionally my girlfriend, both of whom are happy to see me. Vanessa wanted exciting. She wanted ambition. She wanted someone who promised her the world. She got a dude living in a motel who can't hold a job and blames everyone else for his problems. I'm boring. I'm predictable. I'm the guy who pays his bills, shows up on time, keeps his word, and builds things that last. And you know what? That boring, predictable life is pretty satisfying. About a year after everything went down, I got a Facebook message from Vanessa. Random Tuesday evening. I was watching TV with Diesel sprawled across half the couch when my phone buzzed. "Hey, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better, and I messed up. I hope you're doing okay." I stared at that message for a solid 5 minutes. Thought about all the things I could say, all the ways I could tear into her, remind her exactly how badly she'd messed up, list all the ways she disrespected me. Then I just deleted it. Didn't block her, didn't respond. Just deleted it and went back to my show. Rebecca asked what I was thinking about. I told her. She nodded. Good call. Nothing to gain from engaging. Yeah, you really are over it, aren't you? I thought about that. I guess I am. It doesn't make me angry anymore. It's just something that happened. Like a bad job or a failed project. Learn from it and move on. That's the thing about real closure. It's not about forgiveness or reconciliation or dramatic final words. It's about reaching a point where the thing that hurt you just doesn't anymore. Where you can see the person's name and feel nothing. Where you can tell the story without your heart rate climbing. I'm there now. Took a year, but I'm there. Jake asked me recently if I regretted the whole thing. If I wished I'd never dated Vanessa, never gone through the mess. Nah, I said. It taught me stuff. Like what? Like trust your gut. Like keep your finances separate. Like the right person won't make you feel crazy for setting boundaries. I took a sip of coffee. And like sometimes opening a door at the wrong time is the best thing that could have happened. He laughed. That's a weird way to look at it. Maybe. But if I hadn't opened that door, I'd have married her. Would have combined everything. The damage would have been way worse. Instead, I found out exactly who she was before I put a ring on it. That's not bad luck. That's good timing. Mr. Patterson and I finally talked about it, actually. About 8 months after everything. I was helping him replace some outdoor electrical outlets, just basic maintenance stuff. We were working in silence, which is how we both prefer it, when he suddenly spoke up. I owe you an apology. I looked up from the junction box. For what? For my son. for what he did, for bringing that chaos into your life. That's not on you. He's my responsibility. I raised him, or failed to, more accurately. I set down my tools. Mr. Patterson, your son made his own choices. You didn't make him do what he did. And from what I've seen, you tried everything to steer him right. Sometimes people are just determined to be who they are, regardless of how they were raised. He was quiet for a long moment. Still, I'm sorry. I appreciate that. But honestly, I'm not even mad anymore. It all worked out. You're a good man. Better than most. I'm just a guy who pays his bills and shows up when he says he will. That's not special. It's rarer than you think. We finished the work in comfortable silence. When I was packing up my tools, he handed me an envelope. I tried to refuse, said it was just neighbor stuff, but he insisted. Inside was $200 and a handwritten note that said, "For your trouble, and for your character." I kept the note. Use the money to buy Rebecca flowers. These days, life is good. Simple. I wake up at 5:30 a.m., hit the gym for an hour, grab coffee, head to whatever job site we're working. Come home around 6 p.m., take Diesel for a walk, cook dinner, or meet up with Rebecca. Weekends are for projects around the house, hanging out with friends, or just doing nothing. The business is doing well enough that I'm thinking about opening a second location. Maybe train one of my guys to run it, expand our service area. Nothing crazy, just steady growth. The boring kind that actually lasts. Rebecca and I are taking a trip next month. Nothing fancy, just a weekend at a cabin upstate. She wants to go hiking, I want to fish. We'll probably compromise and do both. That's how actual functional relationships work. Compromise, communication, respect. I ran into Vanessa's friend Danielle a few months back. She was getting gas at the same station. We made awkward eye contact. She walked over. Hey, I said back. Look, I just want to say I didn't know about the whole thing with Kyle. She told me she was having girls' nights, but I thought she was with her work friends. I didn't know she was... It's fine. Not your fault. Still, I should have noticed something was off. People see what they want to see. Don't beat yourself up. She nodded, looking relieved. You seem good. I am. Good. You deserve it. She hesitated. She's struggling, you know. Vanessa. Lost another job. Can't seem to get her life together. I didn't ask for details. Didn't need them. That's rough. Yeah. Danielle shifted her weight. Anyway, I'm glad you're doing well. You always seemed like a good guy. We said goodbye. I finished pumping gas and left. That interaction was the last connection to that whole mess. Severed cleanly. Kyle apparently moved away. Heard through the neighborhood grapevine that he went to stay with his aunt in another state. Mr. Patterson seems lighter now. Still formal, still disciplined, but there's less weight in his shoulders. Like he finally let go of something heavy. I think about that day sometimes. Opening that back door. The shock, the betrayal, the anger, but mostly I think about what came after. The clarity, the clean break, the rebuilding. So yeah, Reddit. That's my story. My girlfriend slept with my neighbor's son in his backyard while I was helping his dad move furniture. And honestly, I'm grateful it happened when it did. Dodged a nuclear warhead disguised as a relationship. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.